Alright, we're back on the Ashish Sports and Political Podcast. The Cleveland Browns are an organization of failure, of being extremely terrible at what they do. And, what Cleveland is going to do, they're going to try to make the splash picks. Trade for Odell Beckham. Draft Sam Darnold. Or draft Saquon Barkley. Whoop. But the reason why Cleveland Browns have failed is because they haven't picked the anti-sexy in 10 years. Trent Richardson. Colt McCoy. That's your sexy picks. But you know what the real smart pick was? The smart pick was Joe Thomas. Because he solidified the left side of your offensive line for 10 years as a Hall of Famer and is one of the best blockers this game has ever seen. The ability for Cleveland to accumulate talent through the draft or through trading players has always been weak. That's why they've disintegrated as a franchise rather than evolved. But this offseason they did something different. They traded players and got good players in return. Jarvis Landry. Josh Gordon came back. That was one of their good picks. Corey Coleman's a good player. Right? So you have 3 receivers there. Then they have Duke Johnson and Carlos Hyde to trade. Both multi-purpose backs that can run in between the tackles and catch outlet passes. And now, with all that being said, everyone's saying, draft Saquon. Draft Saquon. Saquon is a home run. And yeah, I think he's a home run. But seriously, why would Cleveland draft him? The Philadelphia Eagles had 4 running backs this year. 4. Trey Burton. Jay Ajayi. Wendell Smallwood. I said that weird just to create some comedic effect. And LeGarrette Blount. They had 4 running backs that were used on an interchangeable basis. Again, you may want a 3rd running back, but that position is not a premium position. You can get any of them at any time. Tom Brady almost won the Super Bowl single-handedly by throwing for 500 yards and not running for it. The ability to get a running back through any fashion is evident through the Browns themselves. They got rid of Isaiah Crowell. They got Carlos Hyde. they're novelty positions, but they're not valuable. That's why you can have 4 average or below average runners and win the Super Bowl with what you could consider an effective running game. Because different styles vary the offense. And besides that, let's analyze the running backs that they have. Carlos Hyde, Duke Johnson. Duke Johnson is essentially a less talented Saquon Barkley. Less talented Saquon Barkley. And Carlos Hyde is a powerful running back. Those are 2 change of pace backs that have multiple purposes. And they in today's day and age, especially when the running back position is not at a premium, will be sufficeable weapons, pretty good weapons actually if utilized properly, and also will provide that variety to your offense. So why do you need to draft Saquon Barkley? Why do you need to draft a guy that you already kind of have on your roster? That you're underpaying for, and you also have a change of pace back as well, power runner in Carlos Hyde, who needs a change of scene to be reinvigorated, needs a bigger role in the offense. Why would you draft him with that pick? Instead, oh no, this isn't a sexy pick. Quentin Nelson out of Notre Dame. Apparently, he is the safest prospect many people are considering draft experts, air quotes. In 10 years, he's an automatic Pro Bowl player. And we know how Notre Dame develops offensive linemen to translate to the pro level, especially with the type of running game that they have usually. So, with previous examples of success through the system that he's been in, as well as the need on the offensive line because Joe Thomas retired. Pro Football Focus says that they're good at the left guard and center position, but I think Quentin Nelson can be taught a different position. Offensive linemen are pretty interchangeable. Give you an example, a little bit of a tangent, but Ohio State has had guards move to centers, guards move to tackles. So offensive line is one of those things where you can teach a guy a different position from where they come. As long as they have a good body type, strong, physical, good motor, they're safe picks because they can be used at a multitude of positions. They don't have to stick to the one where they were drafted. That's why I also like general athletes, because you can plug them in in positions of needs instead of certain skills. Instead of a player with certain skills like a Jabril Peppers, which doesn't translate to you can use them in multiple positions. So why not draft someone like a Quentin Nelson? Quentin Nelson would shore up your left side of the offensive line as well. And then in the second round, you draft a couple of defensive backs as well as a couple of offensive linemen to shore up the right side of that offensive line. They have 9 more picks after the first. They have 8 more picks actually after the after they make the 4th overall selection. And they could use that to draft a couple of upgrades for the right side of the offensive line, as well as, or also, corners and safeties. But if they want a foundational piece to protect their franchise quarterback, which I think they're going to draft Sam Darnold, and they already have a good perimeter-based offense with good perimeter players. They don't need someone like Barkley to fill a role that is very dispensable in today's NFL. Not saying that Barkley isn't special, but Cleveland doesn't need him. If they want to build a foundation of success and winning, because defensively they have good players. They have good players on the defensive line, they have good linebackers, and they just don't have a defensive secondary. If they can get a replacement for Joe Thomas, their offensive line is decent. They have good skilled position players on the offensive side. I think, again, I've said two of these quarterbacks, Rosen and Darnold, are going to be surefire good players. Their offense is going to be fine. Their defense is good, as long as they fix the secondary, but make sure that offensive line is solidified with the replacement for Joe Thomas and Quentin Nelson, guard from Notre Dame. If I was the Cleveland Browns, that's what I would do. They won't, though, because they need sexy picks. They need to make the splashy moves that has the NFL world and the fans want to watch them again. But if they really want to build a foundational structure, build your offensive line back up, build your secondary back up, and you're going to be a playoff team in no time. Because if you draft Sam Darnold, that team is going to be good. Very, very good. Alright, next up, the Kevin Durant fiasco. My take. As well as some political stuff up next on the Q Ryan Sports and Political Podcast.